Hi, it's Summer here, and today I wanted to make a poseable kyubey from Madoka Magica. I first started by gathering together some reference pictures. That way I could kind of see what she looks like from all angles. Kyubey is very small, and I didn't think I was going to be able to make it as small, but I tried as much as I could. To start off with, I used some bendable wire, some epoxy sculpt, some wire cutters, and some clay sculpting tools. I twisted my wire together in the shape of kyubey. I also checked it against the size of the doll that I was using to make sure I wasn't making it too big. So for wire, I used this 3mm brass wire that I found on eBay for really cheap. It's really soft and poseable, and I just twist it around because it makes the joints stronger, but it also means that the more times you bend it over time, it's not going to snap off. The epoxy sculpt went on very easily. It's also very good because when it hardens, it's not going to break around the wire. Sculpting the eyes in makes it a lot easier when it comes to gelling it later. The downside of using epoxy sculpt is it's quite heavy, so I ended up using epoxy sculpt in the back end to keep it weighted evenly. I started with painting it white and the ends of the eyes to be red and pink. Now I'm going to start adding the body. I like to use stretchy fabrics. I start by gluing the stretchy fabric around the bottom half of the head, then cutting it into segments for the legs. So for my stitching, I'm just using a super basic wrap stitch. It simply just goes through and under like that, and you keep going. When I stop, I cut off the end and start again from just before where I finished. I'm then going to use this fluffy mix that I got from making Madoka's wig to add to stuffing. This is on such a small scale, I kind of have to stuff each part at a time. The stitching looks really uneven and not very neat, but there is going to be an outer coat on this. Also, the pink stuffing with the white stretchy fabric makes kyubey look naked. I started to notice at this point that I might not get along with the ears as they were just about right at this level, but the fluffy fabric was going to be making them a lot bigger. Then I'm going to flock the head using PVA glue and flocking powder. This looks super fluffy, and it also covers up the gaps between the wire and the head. But the neckline isn't quite as nice. I'm just going to have to ignore that bit. Now on to adding some fluffy fabric. I start by adding the centerpiece fabric to the underbelly. This is going to make it all look a lot neater later. When adding the body, I discovered I had to cut the fur down. Not only was the fluff a little too long, but it was actually impossible to see what I was sewing. You can't see my stitches afterwards. The super fluffiness is very protective against my stitches. You can see the ears are looking too big here. Or too small. Now for kyubey's earrings. I got some brass wire, bent them into large ring shapes, and created two small hooks that I was able to sew through. Luckily, the fluffiness of the fabric meant that you couldn't actually see the two small hooks unless you really looked for them. To add some colour to kyubey, I took some chalk pastels and just blushed it on. I also used some fabric paint to add on the spot details. For the ring on the back, I first started blushing a ring and then just used a fabric paint in the centre of the ring. I used some UVA gel on the eyes and then used my lamp to dry it. Under the lamp you can see all the little patches on the head where the flocking powder hasn't 100% taken. Looks so creepy. This took forever. I swear it must have taken me about 2 hours, and my UVA light would only go for 100 seconds, so I kept having to pick it up and put it back down. I realised at this point that my ears weren't big enough, so I started to add some epoxy to make them not just bigger, but also a better shape. But the epoxy wouldn't stick on top of the flocking, so I had to file off the flocking before adding the epoxy. After that, it was just a case of painting and adding some more flocking powder. It looks so much better. And here is the finished kyubey.